Hello, Recursive community. Our next guest has left impact in manifold ways on the Bulgarian ecosystem and the Bulgarian society. She's one of the first internationally recognized managers, one of the first Bulgarian female leaders in tech. She's an active angel investor, a philanthropist, a social mover, and shaker. Sasha Bezuhanova is the founder and the chairman of the board of Move.BG. 10 years ago, she left her business career at HP to dedicate herself to positive social change and sustainable development in Bulgaria through innovation, education, and active leadership. Among the causes she pursues through many initiatives and projects is positioning Bulgaria as a global digital center, promoting entrepreneurial culture, and affirming the role of women in business in Bulgaria and in Europe. Sasha Bezuhanova, it is a great pleasure and honor to welcome you here in the Recursive podcast.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm privileged to speak before the Recursive community.
I have to admit that this introduction was one of the hardest ones because you have been active in so many ways and we know you in so many roles, and I'm always impressed by the energy that you still find to start even a greater initiative, one after the other. I would like to go back a bit to the beginning, as every good story starts with the beginning. So tell me, what sparked your interest in the world of technology, and how did you end up working in the field?
The truth is that I wanted to study foreign trade. Technology was not a topic at that time, to be very honest. But this was also my first meeting with the reality in this world, because it was socialistic time. I finished German language school with a golden medal. I believed in the age of 18 that everything depends on me in this life. When I went to the university, it happened that I cannot study foreign trade because my parents were not party members. Mm-hmm. And because I was good at math, I went to the technical university and finished electronics. From today's perspective, I'm very, very grateful because potentially I would be framed in a wrong way. It happened in my life that I entered foreign trade from a back door when HP invited me to join and to lead the operation. And I had a chance to get the best class school in one of the most reputable and most avant-garde technological companies for the time. So we never know in this life what happens and what doesn't happen for reason.
I think that's a great lesson also about frames. Actually, there are no frames that can limit our development and aspirations. You became a general manager at the age of 26. I wonder, did you have any doubts that you're suitable for the position? Did you feel like you're well equipped at this young age? And what is maybe the most important business lesson that you had when you first started?
Of course, I had doubts that it's not for me because I was very young. I didn't have the economic or management background. And I started to work as a junior salesperson, but I was so enthusiastic. This was the German company Hellige in that time. Mm-hmm. And Hellige was for the intensive medical equipment, what Xerox is for copier systems. And I was really not stepping on the ground. Many ideas, I was always sharing these, calling, sending faxes in that time to my management. And in 3 months, our regional director came to me. The year was 19 89 and said, Sasha, do you want to take over the operation, the country management? That was 3 people in that time, not big team. And I said, but I don't have any background, I'm not ready. He said, I will help you, we will help you, you have a potential. And you asked me about the first lessons. Maybe this was my first lesson in the life, that you can see people, not the biographies. Mm-hmm. And I've tried throughout my whole management career, even today when I'm acting on a different ground, to see the people, to support today is 26 years old. So this was big, good entry for me in my business career and pretty much a turning point. And then I had many interesting business moments, because you've asked me about something that was a lesson. I remember when Global, in that time, Second Telecom started, they practically took a license for Bulgaria. And I've been already managing HP. And HP was very, very big in telco business. Mm-hmm. And I found a way through my colleague from Greece to reach out to the Greek CTO, Chief Technology Officer, and to have a meeting with him. And we go with my colleague who was managing the telco business, 2 of us with a big presentation with a computer. The guy was very good, because they've been still in a hotel in Sheraton was the meeting, the whole founding team. And he was polite, and he said after 10 minutes, look, with this presentation, come to me in 1 year from now. Because I have totally different problem today. I need to cable and to finish the building that will be the headquarters of Global, and that's what I need to fix. And he was, of course, he knew exactly what HP is doing, and he was joking, can you cable the building? And I was like, of course we can. Cabling was not in the portfolio of HP, and obviously this was quite a risk. And the guy said, okay, you have 1 month. And I was coming back to the office, go to a Bulgarian company who's good in cabling, and I said, guys, you need to cable this building for a month, whatever it takes. And we signed a contract totally against the rules of HP, with no uplift, with no approval, with nothing, to make this cabling, and we pass it transparently, money-wise, I mean, to this company. Yeah. So they're calling me Saturday, the guys from the company, and I said, you are working day and night, we have 1 month. And they said, but look, the building is locked with such a big lock, Katinar in Bulgaria. Okay. And I said, you force it and you enter to work. And I'm calling the guy who was in Greek, and I said, you know, this was our people that entered the building because we have a deadline. So why I'm sharing this story, we finished this building in a month. Global entered on time. Since then, the door for the whole business for HP in Global was open for us. We became the strategic partner. We were sitting with the IT management to decide for their investments on the next year. We've been extremely responsible in doing this in a very professional manner. And global became, for I believe 2 years, they became the most advanced technological telecom operator in the region that they've managed. And when I share this one as a business case, as a good experience that I got and that I passed to my team, is that sometimes in the business it makes sense you to take risk. It makes sense you to break the rules if you believe that there is a bigger cause behind, that there is a bigger opportunity, and of course you need to engage the right co-pilots with you on the way.
Oh my God, this story is so symbolic in so many ways. I never thought that you would be someone who is ready to break some rules, break some locks. Because, I've always imagined you more like a straight A student. And usually when you're a straight A student, you're following the rules. But now I see you from a totally different perspective. That's very interesting.
Never in my life. Whole of my life is series of causes that are driving me, and I find a way to achieve them. That's how I've managed the business. That's how HP happened, by the way, in Bulgaria, coming back to the old days.
I wanted to throw something. I always say that as a joke that, the Silicon Valley and the Bulgarian ecosystem have one thing in common. It all starts with HP in the beginning. But tell me, bring me back in time. I'm really curious. You were part of the story, a very active part of the HP story. What was the technological ecosystem back then? I mean, we didn't have an ecosystem, to be honest, back then.
Yes and no, by the way, because in the socialistic bloc, economically, Bulgaria was responsible for computer and software technologies. The truth is that in the 60s, 70s, 80s, they've been quite big qualitative group of specialists, of engineers that were extremely professional. I had a privilege when I finished technical university to start working in the Central Institute for Informational Technologies, and my colleagues that were 2, 3, 5 years older than me, they were wizards, they were magicians. I remember my personal mentor, he was able to put instructions, because of course we've been programming on assembler on the machine language, between the clocks of the processor. This type of capacity and engineering power, specifically in the computer industry, existed in Bulgaria. I can speak a lot about this period, but eventually we'll have a different... And this is the foundation that practically the today's engineering, modern people that we all know and we respect are stepping on. We have this tradition in the country. Different thing is to which extent this capacity was used to really be the ground for the post-Soviet economy of Bulgaria. This didn't happen, unfortunately. But the knowledge, the expertise, the role models, the tradition existed, and that's why today we have so big, in my view, so many deep tech engineers, people that understand this knowledge, because they practically upgrade what existed. And I personally have been lucky to be for a couple of years in the company of these special people that are all around the world today.
I would like us, at some point to make maybe a movie once we get to a point where our startup ecosystem and actually the whole tech ecosystem is creating success on a systemic level, that we do a documentary where we trace, exactly these pivotal moments, and we share the stories of how it all began.
There are still around few of the people that were the founder of the modern, to the extent we can call today, the technologies of the 80s, the modern IT knowledge, IT infrastructure of Bulgaria. But you eventually should do the movie relatively soon, because they are close to 80s.
Yes, it's true. It is true. Still, I think HP was a big part of an important part and a significant part in your career. And still in 2013, on this flight from Jakarta to Frankfurt, from what I read, you made a pivot in your career. You made a decision to quit the corporate career and to do something different. Would you maybe walk me through your reasoning? What happened on that flight?
What happened was not on the flight. What happened was on the streets of Bulgaria. The truth is that I still remember on 14th of June, for relatively formal reasons, people went on the street to protest against corruption, against the injustice, against the unfair governing that was obviously programmed in that time. And I've read this action as a collective awakening of Bulgarians. In that time, I've been managing a big region, 67 countries on a worldwide level, within HP for two of the business lines. But of course, what happens in Bulgaria, in my country, was very important for me. In fact, I never stopped to be one way or another involved in the social process, supporting entrepreneurship or economic development, despite of the fact that I professionally had different priorities in that time. And my daughter was in Sofia for vacation. She was studying in that time. I said, Lyubomila, everybody is on the street, everybody is hating, everybody is negative. Let's put together a Facebook page where we have a positive discussion for Bulgaria. What are the long-term perspectives before us? What brings us together? Let's have the contra basis in the digital space. And she designed the Facebook page. I had a text, the new path for us Bulgarians, and she said, "Oh, Mom, nobody will step on your new path because Facebook is not working like that." And she was the one that invented the name, which was Move.BG. When you write it in a phonetic alphabet, means Bulgaria can.
Yeah.
So I said, excellent. That fits exactly this community that I want to be engaged. And I said, I'm going to Asia for a week. And I'm leaving you 5 questions you to moderate the discussion in Facebook, because everything is happening in Facebook now, the positive discussion. And I'm in Vietnam, I'm in Indonesia and so on, and I'm checking in the moments when I could, what is happening with the positive dialogue for Bulgaria. You see, people want to respond on the positive question, and then the hate starts. People are complaining. So what happens in this plane from Jakarta to Frankfurt is that I had 11 hours to think on what can be done in a more effective way. And I said to myself, this won't happen on a Facebook. This won't happen with the remote control. And I left this plane with the decision to leave my career and to use the authority, the reputation, the influence, and the ideas that I had to stimulate this positive change that was in the script on a Facebook. So this was what happened. And of course, I've called my manager and I said, I'm leaving the company. He was like, are you crazy? People are not doing things like that after 20 years in career. And what we've agreed, I've stayed for another 4 months to finish a couple of things.
Still.
And to transfer the responsibilities that I had to 3 people. And I closed one very important thing that I dream one day to be able to see in Bulgaria. In that time, I was executive sponsor of a project for the educational system for the Emirates. And this was a project for $350 million that was supposed to equip 400 schools altogether.
Wow.
So we've signed the contract in August, and I left in September. I've started what I'm doing today. Maybe in different occasion I can explain what modern educational system means in an integrated way. The story itself, how you win a business when your pilot is a school in the middle of the desert, is interesting itself. But I'm sure you have different questions.
It will be really hard, to have a conversation within a short time. We'll probably have to repeat it at some point with a different focus, because I think we do need a discussion on our educational system now in Bulgaria, and it's exactly the time when we have to do that. I need to think of maybe a different format of how we can get into your experience. Still, I'm thinking it was a very dramatic year for you, or at least it would have been very dramatic for me if I had to walk through the decisions that you took. But what I would like to ask you is, how did you manage to redefine yourself? Because, being for so long in business and in corporate, and then stepping out of this frame and going into a position where you design and moderate social change, these are, in my opinion, very, very different worlds. And I guess corporate experience can help you just to an extent. The rest you have to redefine, you have to reinvent yourself.
First of all, this was not a dramatic year for me. I was really had a missionary feeling. It might sound strange, but for me, because this was the year when I was named Digital Woman of Europe, and I thought if people with this experience, with this knowledge, with this international authority are really setting the example, if you want, to the awakened people that are on the street. This will really strengthen, catalyze the process. This was what I was thinking at the first instance, was not that I need to redefine myself, because I've been already redefined with the choice that I've made. Of course, it was quite idealistic thinking that we will show, because I've invited 6 more people from different backgrounds with a track of record of service to society, to set this, if you want, core, and to show that these people are in every different professions and every different segments. And of course, I didn't calculate it that the status quo forces might perceive this as a threat, as a risk. I was practically sacrificing my career and with the motivation to do something for Bulgaria, to give back, to motivate people. And in this very moment, I've explained that this will be perceived in a positive way, but there was such a strong blaming campaign, what's going on. They believe that I will form a political party, and I said, guys, that's more than a political party, because political party is the next division. What we need is to find a way, a ground, to bring people together back, not to create the new borders. It is more important. But of course, when you create something that eventually cannot be framed in the known, people interpret what is Move.BG. Maybe it's a think tank, maybe it's a party to be, maybe it's a movement, but what is, and de facto, what Move.BG was from the very beginning in my head, and what we've did throughout the years, this is a lab for the future and a platform for the trendsetters to know each other, to create together, to co-create together, so that the whole process of transformation that is happening all around the world to be stimulated, and Bulgaria to be really a country that is settled in this new time with the right standards. Because of course, we see it now. In 2013, this was not so visible, but we go through time of fundamental transformation in the world. The axiomas of the world are changed, and of course, this new world is not institutionalized yet. That's why the old forces, the status quo is defending with all possible means the territory that they stand on. But I believe that we are living in this time of new renaissance, and the champions of this time that are digital entrepreneurs, that are people that build up platforms to stand behind causes, that are really people that are experimenting in a cross-disciplinary way. They should be supported.
There are too many things that I want to ask you, aspects which I find interesting. But maybe I will start with So first of all, let's maybe talk about Move.BG, and then maybe we can make the connection to what is happening today in the society. first of all, I also didn't know what Move.BG is about. I remember it must have been probably 2016, 2017, when I met you in Vienna. It was an event organized by BVCA, and I was very disconnected from Bulgarian society at this point. Yes, I was reading about the protests, and I would have a couple of friends who would be part of that, but I didn't perceive it as a social change or anything. In fact, back then in these years, I was very positive that I will never come back to Bulgaria.
You sounded like this.
Yes. And then I met you, and at some point things started shifting, and I met more and more other people who, despite everything, decided to live in Bulgaria, to grow their business in Bulgaria, to make a career in Bulgaria. And I was thinking, there must be something happening. Maybe my perspective is wrong. To the point where I decided to come back. And actually, the first thing that I did, I learned that in Vienna, I need to start networking. I need to start building my network, because that was always my superpower. I'm not good at anything really, but connecting to people. And Move.BG was the first party that I visited. You invited me already in Vienna that I should come at some point to a party. I didn't manage to. It was the first thing that I thought, this is where I'm going to. And I had an idea, a fuzzy idea of what I want to do in Bulgaria. It was connected to, I think startups are interesting. There is something bubbling which is happening here. I studied media, so why not, do it together? And I just started asking around if someone knows people who can write about it. And it was at the party where I met my co-founder back then. And just in a couple of weeks, we published the first stories, and the whole thing started. So Move.BG was the place where I found my courage through the serendipity of this moment, that I'm on the right path, that I also need to quit my corporate job and I need to go to do something which I believed would have an impact. In this sense, I don't know still how to describe Move.BG and give its due, because it is much more. But I can definitely agree with the point where you share it. It is an open platform. And I'm coming now to my question. Why do we need more open platforms? Why is this the organization of the future,
The world is going to platforms. We see them everywhere. In the business, 65% of the world GDP today is produced by platforms. And Steve Jobs was the one that gave this concept to the business geniusly. Today, this is the standard. But we have collaborative science that is happening on platform. We have collaborative art that is happening through platforms. We individually participate in different networks through platforms. That's the way how world today collects us and prepares us to build on top of our individual skills, our collective skills to improve us, because that's what I believe is the next level of human development, is we to be able in a better way to create products and societal results as collective to remember, because this was in the early days the case. So platforms are very, very critical as part of the new DNA, in my view, of the society. And of course, as in many, many other instances, it introduced and manifested itself in the business. So Move.BG is building a network of people. We call them Changemakers. And Move.BG is also think and do tanks. What translated means that we have studies because to step our to ground our concepts on data, but we also lobby them proactively through the network of these changemakers and experts. In accordance, those ideas to become part of the legislation, to become part of the practices of the people. So I know it may sound complex, but I believe that's what is needed.
This year, Move.BG is celebrating 10 years.
Yeah.
You're having a birthday quite soon. I think I was at the party for your 5th anniversary. And you're, from what I know, now on an endeavor to measure the impact that you have had over the past 10 years. If you look back through all the initiatives that you have started and the manifold professionals and talents and creatives that you have gathered in this network to contribute, what do you think is that you're leaving to the society, but also to the Bulgarian ecosystem? I'm sure that it cannot be said in just a couple of sentences, but what is the impact that you leave?
You gave just one of the examples. Many things started in Move.BG. People started their businesses, new project was born, people found funding. Move.BG is really a trend-setting organization. In 2013, we created the first free YouTube channel as the first non-professional television with the idea to bridge the digital and physical worlds, to give a chance for people that are not physically together to follow, to participate. And today there are many podcasts, there are many connections, but in 2013 this was novelty.
Ep.74 is actually more or less the predecessor of the Recursive and something that we have developed later on, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You created the foundation for what we are now doing in our company.
Practically, Edit was a very complex project because we had the Innovators, which was a monthly TV show we made, and for quite a few years this was the only one study mapping of the Bulgarian startup ecosystem with the idea to again give the data to follow the trends, but also to identify where we as more experienced people in the industry can add extra support in accordance to really identify the big thing that Bulgaria can be, similarly to Estonia that build around the government the brand of the whole country, or Finland that is the label for circularity these days. So we are still looking for our Bulgarian, if you want, specialization in the industry that can help transforming the country from the outsource economy to the economy value added, but to also add a big part of the big stimulus, big impulse to the authority of the country and internationally, as also will be the reason for many people to return back or to come back to work in Bulgaria. So this was part of the ideal mission, but this gave also framework for the professionals in the industry, for the investors to really invest in Bulgaria. So Edit is a good example, but not only. We also created the first program that bridges together digital innovation community and green community. 3 years ago, we've started the Green Restart Coalition that is working on a transdisciplinary basis for the priorities of the innovation with green flavor and for really policies and strategies for lowering carbon footprint with technology. So there are many examples for these 10 years that I can give. And maybe most important one of them is the network of the Changemakers, which again is on the platform in an innovative way, where you can see people that are really creating within their field, being this business, culture, social sphere. They are tracing the path of this future that I believe was the only reason Move.BG to be found, both value-wise, but also with the practices, with the brave ideas that they develop. And these people are living according to the standards of the new world. Collaboration, co-creation, sharing. So I hope that by driving this army already of role models who will reach out the tipping point when those will be the people that will set the agenda of this country in the business, on a political level, in the government. That's what Changemakers is all about.
I want to close a bit maybe the frame and let us maybe reflect on what is happening now on the streets in Bulgaria. So your decision was very much motivated in an environment of protests, and in the past years we had protests again, which led to a divided society now that we see. I wonder, first of all, do you think that there is a progression in the meantime, or are we just, looping back and back again to this place where it all started in 2013? And my second question would be, but let me get back to it. Yes. Later on.
From a formal perspective, it might look that we didn't progress because there are same people. Not too much was happening.
A lot of hate as well. Yeah.
But the truth is that I personally see bigger maturity within the society. I see those 26 years old enthusiasts that were in 2013 on the street. Today they are responsible people in the business. Those are independent people. They are much more involved and engaged time-wise, resource-wise, and with their positions for the social development of the country. In my view, it is a matter of really short time until this flipping will happen, and
reaching the tipping point.
Reaching out the tipping point, because I believe that new generation of free people is coming on a totally different level of independence. And despite of the fact that we see the good old faces on a television, we see the old practices, how to buy votes or how to manipulate people and keep people in fear. The number of people that are independent, that really are understanding the processes, and most importantly, are ready personally to commit, this number of people is growing. And I believe that we'll see soon the shift on a next level within Bulgaria. Of course, we see that similar processes are going on in many other countries. The world is not in rest at the moment.
Yeah.
And this is exactly this transformation, this, if you want, transition from one epoch to another that goes with these turbulences. That's why I was speaking about new renaissance, although it might sound a little bit a label, but that's exactly what's going on at the moment. Because if you study what has happened in mid-century, you have change of technology, you have new connectivity through transportation, you have printing machine that allowed the information to reach out to more people. Let's translate this into what's going on today. It's a similar process. So the elements are, the building blocks are new, but
Yes. True.
And Move.BG, coming back to the 10 years and what we are doing, practically is working for these new Renaissance standards to be established in Bulgaria. And hopefully from Bulgaria, this to give also empowerment experience to other geographies.
I'm thinking now that maybe part of the process will be also in a way to decapitate the past, because it was part of the Renaissance as well. Yeah.
That's where pain comes from.
Part of the global transformation that we see and where, Bulgaria is taking part of is related also to a big divide. I'm not sure what is exactly, on what principle the division is happening, but we see societies sticking to something which is against everything, without ideals, more or less standing behind people who are just not suggesting anything, but they're just protesting against the status quo. And then you have another part of society which is, okay, let's build together, let's create together. And again, we're in a situation where we need those platforms that are going to facilitate the dialogue between the different segments. Yeah, maybe even the segments are not just two, they're probably even more if we look at again. So given your experience of establishing and leading such kind of platform, what can we learn about overcoming, and I'm going to use the red lines that we're so speaking about now in this societal environment and this political crisis? By the way, lately, I'm very fed up of the overuse of the word crisis all the time. Everything is called the crisis, but what can we learn about the situation that Bulgaria is right now in?
First of all, we should be rational on the fact that this world is governed with systems that are not fitting the needs of the new world. And that's one clash is coming from this contradiction. For example, the political process, because you are referring to this, if we look only in that on that level, we have political parties which in the past had ideologies and people would follow different ideologies, and this would be the division. While today, because of the social media, because of the fact that with your Facebook profile, you can be a leader of a cause, and through the digital channels, you can attract your followers. This becomes an alternative, if you want, of the political ideology, and parties that are still the channel for people to reach out to the governing positions, to the parliament, to the formal roles in the country. The party started to flirt with this audience for votes. And by flirting with the audience, they step back from the ideology. Brexit happened because of that, because Cameron was over-promising to the public something that practically he didn't believe in, and he didn't intend it to implement. So I am giving this context is that we soon can expect change, in my view, in the setup of the political process, in the identification of new figures. I do believe that that's part of the reason for those or some of those that are interested party and are in power to govern through fears, to stimulate this division, because this buys them a little bit more historical time. But that's not the only reason. The other is that some people are ready to embrace this new world, to learn the tools of this new time. Other people stand behind, and this gap also creates a division. Division in...
That's the digital divide, yeah, of course.
Not only digital divide, this is also value divide, because digital connectedness, digital skills is one of the elements. But living through this with the understanding of this new concept for collaboration, for platforms, is another level of division against the patriarchal, hierarchical type of thinking. So we have... and on top of this, the political level that, of course, is... but we need to work for this. People need neutral ground, and because you've asked me what is the solution is dialogue. Always solution has been a dialogue. And also to develop the understanding that you may not be not agree with the opinion of your opponent, of the other person, but you should listen to his or her position, and this brings you a little bit closer, because there are many things, there are much more things that bring us together than those that divides us.
I think the bubbles that we have built around ourselves are making us forget the skills, to talk to someone who might be on a totally different opinion. And I definitely would agree here with you that we need more people who can facilitate this dialogue between the different segments of society, where you can also speak on the same level with someone who might be from a totally different walks of life.
Let me give you an example to support what you just said.
Tell me,
Within Move.BG for 3 years now, we are working on the green transformation agenda, Bulgaria, on policy level through different innovative means. And what we do, we work with the power of the crowd. We crowdsource the knowledge. That's the model how we produce our papers, our concepts, and we publish them. We normally have video and so on. We have campaign to educate, if you want, the general public. But always we invite politicians from different political parties to have a debate on the specific topics. Last one was on the energy transition of Bulgaria, which is our latest study. So the politicians that have been on totally different opinions, because they had a neutral ground, because we made it in a professional way, giving the expert background first, so that this limits the political talks, but rather stays on the topic that benefits everybody in this country. So just for 1 hour meetup, there is already an agreement that one of the first initiatives legislatively will be related to one very, very critical topic of the energy communities. In the same way, on a previous roundtable that we've organized was agreed, and then it materialized Bulgaria to have Deputy Prime Minister for climate policies. That was not on the agenda. So it is possible when you create a ground for a dialogue, when you give the strong arguments objectively, and then those that are in formal power at the moment, they don't have too big space to maneuver. They agree. And that's how, in my view, the grassroots power can be used in a pragmatic way.
By the way, congratulations for these achievements. So you obviously managed to galvanize this power of awakening into legislative decisions and power. That's I think that's a great achievement. So the tipping point is near, you said. The shift is near. In this brave new world, or let's maybe rephrase from that, in this new world, what is the role of Sasha Bezuhanova? Where do you see yourself?
Well, one thing that I've learned in my long and rich life is that you have this very moment in life, and you better concentrate what best you can do today. And what will be my role? I'm very grateful that I had a chance very early in my life to be exposed to the first class knowledge, and one thing that drives me today is to give back this experience and knowledge to those that might need it. In the business, because I'm involved in the startup ecosystem.
You're also a very active investor, and by the way, your investees are always praising you.
To give back, to support this community, that's one thing that really drives me a lot, and is something that is a big priority for me. And second thing, I would be happy to see Bulgaria really reaching out the path to prosperity, where people that know the axioms of the new time and are brave and responsible in collaboration as a team really drive the agenda of this country. That's what I see. What role I will play? I will definitely play a role because if I look back, I know that I've been active in many instances. Today, my role is of a facilitator, of maybe inspirer for some of the young people.
You are.
Of someone that make a step when see the path ahead by not having hesitations. So.
At the end, maybe I would like you to finish the sentence. So you mentioned that if we translate Move.BG into Bulgarian, it means Bulgarian can. Would you finish the sentence? Bulgaria can?
Bulgaria can be home for people that are satisfied and place that attracts many people for having good life. Bulgaria can be a place with the protected nature where we live there in harmony with it.
In the next episode of the Recursive podcast, serial entrepreneur and investor Radu Georgescu.
I've never been a CEO in my life.
Okay.
And I'm 100% sure that I would be very bad on managing. I mean, I suck at managing my own house. My wife is actually managing everything. And look, I'm married for 37 years, whatever it is.
So you keep the years of marriage like the number of ventures that you're creating.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Got married in 89, so whatever it is. And she's the one managing things. I cannot. I'm very good on strategy, but I cannot manage things.
And if you're just as passionate about innovation as we are, hit subscribe for the Recursive podcast on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. We're everywhere.